Hello and welcome. My name is Quinn, and this is episode 14 of this karate podcast. Today, we're going to be covering the Kata Gankaku, or Chinto. Now, this form has been in the works for quite a while. I had to learn the form. If you haven't watched my previous video about the process I go through in learning a new form, I highly suggest it. Now, this form I found to be particularly interesting, particularly fun, because it does have some very unique movements, and it also has a cool backstory. If you do want to hear the legend, the backstory, the myth behind this kata, stay tuned to after the video, and we'll have a little treat there. Okay, so let's jump right in, looking at what we have for these techniques. The opening sequence, movements 1, 2, 3, 4. What we are defending against here is a takedown. Specifically, we practiced a single leg takedown. This probably could also apply for like a double leg attempt or anything else where someone's shooting in around maybe your waist or your hips, trying to push you over, pick you up, throw you down. As your opponent comes in and they're attacking you, go ahead and just stop them with that. So instead of a cross block motion here, an X block, we are framing up square against their shoulders or pushing down on their back. And as they reach forward for that leg, we're going to reach around them and just pull them down to the side. That's what we're looking at here in movements, between movements 2 and 3 is we're pulling them down. And that right there, if you are able to off balance them and pull them forwards enough, you're just going to throw them to the ground, and we can just practice that as a technique. We can take that a step further though. So if we go to pull them down, throw them, and they manage to break out of that, or they are trying to stand up, we're going to let them, we're going to boom, deck them in the face, wrap around, and pull. That's what this movement on the other side is here, with that punching. And as we do that, if we look in here, we have this turn where we go from between movements 4 and 5 there. This big turn into the downward block. That's going to turn to either a neck ring throw or a hip throw. All right. Now, let's look at this jumping kick. The Plebejer, the jumping front kick here. We have this big cross block up high. We're going to pull in. Then you're going to do a big knee and a front kick. That by itself is a valid technique. We've seen it done. I've used the clip with Lyoto Machida doing that before. It's an awesome kick. However, I like to take things into a more gritty, closer up circumstances. So let's look at what happens if we try to do something like this from a clinch. So instead of this cross block, this X block, we're going to go into a clinch. We're pulling him in, pulling the head down to our chest. That first knee, or that first kick, in movement 8A here, we're going to throw a knee into their stomach or into the sternum. And then the second kick, we're going to stomp into their knee, forcing their leg backwards and basically forcing their hips back. What that'll do is you have the hold of their head, right? So their head's going to be here, their hips are going to be back there, and they're going to be really off balance without their hips underneath them supporting them. And then in the form, we have 8B and 9, where we have this low cross block and then turn and another low cross block. All we're doing there is we're taking that clinch, we're clinching our elbows around the neck and turning and throwing them to the ground. This was an awesome technique. I feel like it has a lot of practicality to it, something that I'm definitely going to continue practicing as time goes on. Now, after 9, imagine this, we have 10, 11, 12, where we have like this low blocking motion, and then we step through and we have another one. In here we are practicing the scoop throw, just like we've done in the past in other forms when we have like those knife hand blocks going down the middle. Simple scoop throw here. We made a variation though, where both hands in the kata are low. So in the variation we practiced, we're grabbing the knee that we're stepping behind and lifting it and dumping them down. And that really gives us the motion in the kata, where we're pulling one hand up to the sternum and we're pulling down with the other hand. Again, something I really like. This form is just so wonderful. There's so many really practical, wonderful things here. Okay. That being said, there are some things that I got a little bit stuck on. So let's take a look at what we have here. 12, 13, 14. We have this sort of a motion here, and then we turn 90 degrees, and we go out here, and this big down. And we played back and forth, whether it's like a grab from the front or like a bear hug. And I never really found a technique I really love, because my problem with escapes for bear hug attacks is 99% of the time when you see a technique like that demonstrated, and I'll put up a clip here of a friend of mine, Charlie, playing with this, where we're just getting these nasty bear hugs. If someone's giving you a bear hug, they're going to be bigger and stronger than you, and just doing this or doing this, trying to break out of that, it's tough to do at best, if not impossible. But Charlie comes up with a couple cool ideas here for both where we're here and then turn with the 90-degree turn, where he steps behind and does his throw. In one of them, he does a spur kick to get his attention, but I don't really have anything I really love for those movements, 12, 13, 14. So if you guys do, if anyone out there does have a good practical drill you can do with that specific set of movements in that order, let me know, because I am super interested to see what other people have to say. Okay, moving on. What do we have here? Where we got 15, 16, 17. With these manji uke blocks here, right? With the high and the low, and then there's a turn in there. The drill that we did with this, we kind of took a really awkward, sticky hands sort of drill, where we're just really close up in each other's faces, and we're kind of just doing the circular motions. Not because I am proficient in any sort of Chinese martial arts to use the sticky hands, but I like the idea of keeping contact with your opponent's appendages so you can kind of control where they're going. So we started out doing this sort of wax on, wax off motion with a sticky hands-esque movement here, and then moved into a groin strike, and then turn into a throw. And that honestly pretty much follows identically what we have in the kata here. So I really liked that, where we're closing the distance to strike the groin, turning, wrapping around the arm for a more of a shoulder throw, or around the waist or the neck, like a neck ring throw or hip throw, and turning and throwing them low. And then if you look at 17 and 18 here, where it goes, he's kneeling there on the ground. We went into, after the throw, where you can basically pin them. Either you do a choke, you do a gi collar choke, or I threw in a, what do you call it? That pin. The arm bar. We threw in an arm bar here for shits and giggles as well. So lots of things to play with there. I just really like that movement, how it flows from one thing to another, to putting them on the ground, to holding them there with a choke or a pin. I feel like that's really a complete defensive maneuver, right? Where you're starting standing up, you're closing space, putting them on the ground, making it so they can't move. I feel like that's just one really solid altogether technique there. Okay, let's jump up here to, let's not do that. Let's jump up here to movements 20, 21, 22, where we have like these elbow, right elbow, elbow and turn sort of movements here. We practiced this quite a bit. I am not going to take credit 100% for this technique because I actually came up with this while watching good old Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on his Technique Tuesday a little while ago. Did a defense for when, MMA fighting in a cage against a wall. Someone's pushing against the wall and trying to take you down to the ground, where he did this movement here to torque the shoulder and arm over. I'll put up his clip here, and I'll put up a clip of what we did. But what I kind of embellished on that with is, in something that we played with, was doing that motion to torque the shoulder forward, like coming up real tall and turning to coming up tall to break the grip and turning to kind of push them to the side, and then going back the other way, boom, elbow to the face. Yeah, really cool stuff there. Good old, I don't think anybody's going to argue with good old Wonderboy Thompson on what he's saying there, because the dude's a legend. Okay. Why is that not sticking? Let's now look at the, what do you want to call it, like the signature movement of the kata, where we have the number 25, like the big crane stance. You stand it on one leg, and then you got the side kick, and then it goes into like this back fist strike. What is going on there? So, in the form, can I zoom in here? Yeah, there we go. In the form, it's actually, I think, important to understand here that different styles of karate do this differently. So Gankaku, the Japanese Shotokan version's form, they have a side kick here. But what is probably more practical, not unsurprisingly, the older Okinawan versions of this form, Chinto, they have a front kick here. And this one, I'm not going to take credit for this one either. This straight up came from a video with Jesse Enkamp and Ian Abernethy doing a defense using these movements. And so what we did is we covered distance and frame in against an opponent's arm. And then with one hand, we reach behind the head, pull them down, and knee them. So when we're up in the crane stance there, that's them being pulled into the knee strike. And then you can, the kick, front kick here, or the side kick out their knee to push them off balance. And then step forward and you can throw them to the ground or just punch them. So that repeats a couple times. We got 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Pretty much all the same stuff. So let's jump into just the last one here that I have for you today. And that is 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay? What is going on here? Can I just move that up there? Sure. You guys see my background here. I'll get rid of that. Where we have this high shuto strike into an elbow, and then we pull, and then we big circle. Now, if you watch the Shotokan guys do this, they spin and balance up on one foot. That's what you're looking at in 40. What I found to be more practical is if you just, after the elbow, when you pull in, just take a step forward and turn. Because I feel like you're not being as off balance that way, and it takes a lot less technical skill to pull it off, meaning that it's also something you're more likely to be able to pull off in sparring. But what we got here, again, from a clinch, I'm going to come in through the middle with an elbow strike, and then I'm going to pull the head, and I'm going to take that elbow I just with, or the arm I just elbowed with, pull out to the outside on their arm. I'm going to pull them down, and then I'm going to pass the arm across, and then we can do an arm throw, or basically like a turning arm drag, or I guess it's like a turning arm bar, I guess. Kind of a bit of a different funky technique, but something I really like. Because it does have variation to that. I mean, we could just turn that into another neck ring throw. We could turn into an elbow break and just break an elbow. Don't do that in sparring though, that sucks. Or we can turn into just a turning arm bar and put them on the ground, very much in an Aikido, Hapkido, joint lock sort of fashion. And we'll put up a video of that here as well. Okay. And then that's basically it. We have like the crane stance, the sidekick one more time. I feel like that's mostly just for flavor to get you to the beginning of where you started in the room. But yeah, ends with Yami. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, that was, for the most part, one solid technique for every movement in Gankaku or Chinto. That being said, again, if you do have anything for, where was it? 12, 13, 14, where we have the here and then we turn here, that. If you have anything for that, please let me know, because I'm super interested to see what other people come up with. Cool. Story time. I told you there would be a story, so let's do a story time. As the legend goes, now, how much of this is fact, fiction, and legend, myth, whatnot, we don't really know. It's probably more tall tale than anything. However, the story's cool. So according to legend, there was a Chinese sailor, or maybe a pirate, who crashed and shipwrecked near the island of Okinawa. And he ended up taking up residence in a cave. Now, apparently he would go out and steal from the local villagers. And after this happened for a little while, complaints came in to the Okinawan king, who then sent Matsumura, one of the old school karate masters, to go take care of the problem. So Matsumura goes and seeks out this sailor, who went by the name Chinto, reportedly. And after what we can only assume is an epic battle, they find themselves evenly matched. Turns out that Chinto was a master of White Crane Kung Fu. So Matsumura, he tells Chinto to wait there. And he went back to the king and reported back and said, hey, this guy isn't going to be a problem anymore. Then went back to Chinto and sought to learn from him. And, according to legend, this form is what he learned. So, whether you call it Chinto or Gankaku, I think it's important to know the history of the forms, legend or otherwise. Let me know if you know of any other forms with cool stories. And until next time, sayonara.